Boom. Burial synchronicity triple four. Hope everybody is doing well, live and direct. Let's take a sip of the juice. So today, do you know what? Yeah, if that picks up on the mic, which it probably will, that is a very good sign, because the video that I'm doing is actually about cops and robbers. Gangster. Yeah, the actual gangster themes carry on from Noriega, real life OGs, to some more real life OGs. I mean, I've got Snoop Person in the lineup here. If we get to that chart, it's another story. But Snoop was actually like real life in the streets, as they say. So, Idris Elba, yeah, of The Wire fame, who played Stringer Bell, like a character that was close to a lot of people's hearts in the end. And even more so when people found out he was from the UK, for us over here in the UK. His birthday was the 6th of September, and he was born in 1972. So just celebrated 48th, I believe. Happy birthday, Idris Elba, belated. Happy belated birthday. So he had the sun in Virgo when he was born, placed at about 13 degrees, maybe 14, depending on the birth time. Don't have the birth time, but we can see that Mars is alongside this sun in Virgo, if you follow me on the screen here. So to get it off quickly, I would say that this 14 degrees, from some of the research that I've seen, is an interesting point, because I believe around this age, this is when he got into his passion for drama. Mars is related to passions, if you want to talk about the planets, and then the sun is definitely related to expressing and creativity. So expression and creative expression was strong with Idris Elba, and he also believe got a car around the age 14. He said he looked about 19 at the time, so he's actually got Saturn at 19 degrees, and it's in Gemini, and Gemini can kind of speak to the early years and the education. So yeah, looking older, I mean, he's got Mars in square to Saturn, so that's something that he was capable of pulling off. And I believe if anyone spoke to him, with him having Mercury square to Neptune, I believe he could carry it off in terms of his lines and acting and basically telling a fib. Neptune deals with the illusions and also the disillusions, but like being able to hide or omit or change, basically lead you to believe, which is acting all in a sense, which is what he became actually. So, you know, we're speaking about what we're now looking at as a great actor, Idris Elba. So this is the way that he's used Mercury, I believe, in square to Neptune. So yeah, Neptune's prominent with a lot of actors, and as we can see, Idris Elba is no different. Because we don't know your birth time, we are gonna suppose that the moon is in Leo, because there's a 60% chance at this point in the day, midday I've used, and I believe there's a possibility of that. I mean, I was watching him on the Newham Talks, and he's just built had built a studio in his house. I wouldn't think you built that on your own. Obviously, he said he spent a lot of money doing this. So yeah, and the recording studio and the expressive side of him, and the moon making a trine to Jupiter, which Jupiter is the planet of expansion. I could see how he could have a Leo moon, definitely, and then acting and performing and expressing again and being into drama. The Leo moon does definitely speak to someone that could get in front of the camera and carry it off. So I mean, I've seen a lot of things that connect to like certain ages and certain times. So according to Idris Elba, when he was about 18-19 years old, got his first serious bits of equipment for music, and he said he was following in the footsteps of his father and his uncle, who he referred to as audiophiles, which is a technical word for basically people who kind of like geek out on equipment of sorts, electronic equipment, music stuff. But yeah, audio, music, sound equipment, there we go. So that was what he said. When he was about age 13, 14, by that time, he found that he himself was involved in sound life, you get me? So he's a sound man from from a young age. Sound boy. So yeah, Idris Elba really loves his music, by the way, if we hadn't known. So he's actually dropped some bars, I mean, featured alongside Wiley, Sean Paul, Steph London on Bossy. And that was something else that made me think the Leo Moon could be something that he could carry off the Bossy flex with. So yeah, but he says he likes to get deeply involved in the work that he undertakes and do the best job that he can. And I mean, that speaks a lot to Virgo, liking to practice and perfect their craft when they're doing something or learning something. So just to get into it, we see that Idris Elba has the Sun, Mars, and I noted that his co-stars, they had like Mars connections as well. So as I may have noted, Wood Harris, 17th of October 1969, he played Avon Barksdale. Avon Barksdale was the head honcho of the Barksdale crew, basically, and Idris Elba, who played Stringer Bell, was his right hand man. And then the enforcer, the muscle, was Weebay. Hassan Johnson played Weebay, yeah. Roland Bryce was the character's name, but he was just Weebay. And Weebay was just that hardcore enforcer, deal with the problem, get it cleaned up kind of guy, and protector and loyal guy, yeah. So Sun in Scorpio, 27 degrees. It's also with Mars at 28 degrees. So I found this interesting because basically the right hand and the left hand from Wood Harris or Avon. You know what? I'm gonna have to call you Avon, like just to Avon, Stringer, Weebay. There we go. So Stringer, Sun and Mars, yeah. Weebay, Sun and Mars. Avon, Moon and Mars. Now, although these guys are just characters, yeah, I want to show you how the planets kind of reflect in the parts that you end up playing and how you carry off certain roles. So I feel like the Sun and Mars were the two generals that used to be out there and could be seen, with the Sun being such a visible, massive, like, you know, you can see the shadow, like, and then in the cut, the boss, the head honcho, who you wouldn't see so much, Wood Harris, but would always be indoors generally, especially after the Omar situation. Michael K. Williams, he's got a special shout out there. You find him indoors, and the moon speaks to you home and the inner surroundings. But like, I feel like he was the general on the inside, natural. Like, in fact, there you go. It's his family name. There we go. Put it into words and context. He was a Barksdale. It was the Barksdale crew. So his family name, and he was a general in his family, Mars. Now, couldn't have wrote it any better. Now, talking about these guys being the big guns, so you've got his Sun actually at 24 degrees Libra, give or take, I'm going to say 23, 24 degrees. And that would be conjoined to the fixed royal Bohemian star Speaker or Spiker, depending on pronunciation of that one, and Arcturus. So I believe there's no accident that he ends up with that kind of key role. I mean, he's played head gangsters before in other parts, in other roles. So I think that's kind of like part of why he gets that. And then Sun conjoined to Jupiter as well. So Jupiter is in Libra at 18 degrees by the Sun, which is 24 degrees in Libra. And why I say that's interesting that he has the Sun and Jupiter and he was the head guy, the boss. He also has Mars at 17 degrees Capricorn. So the 17 and 18 degrees, which are definitely like alignments of a square, shows how he's got the extra force and the extra will, in sense of Capricorn being a planet of desire, passion, will, getting things done, and Jupiter being the planet of expansion and basically blowing things out of proportion. So the thing about Wood Harris and Stringer Bell, so Wood Harris being Avon and Idris Elba, is basically that they're both about 6'3", 6'4". So I mean, Sun Jupiter with the Mars conjunction, that makes him a big gun. And then another guy that wasn't little was Weebay. By no means, he was kind of like stocky with it. Not as tall, but definitely big. He has the Sun opposite Jupiter. So Jupiter is at 25 degrees in Taurus, and Taurus is opposite to Scorpio. So the Sun at 27 degrees in Scorpio, and that's alongside Mars in Scorpio at 28 degrees. So this was another character known for packing the big guns, and as I say, the enforcer of the team that kind of basically held everything down in the field for them. Yeah, and then just wanted to note that he's got a Neptune in Sagittarius, and it's in trine with his Saturn. So something to say, something that shows me and wants me to say that he would have got more serious about his acting maybe as he got older, or things may have worked out. Saturn being a planet of age and maturity, and it's also in Leo, which is a sign of creative expression. So the serious acting, I mean, who knows, he might have got serious about age 16. I mean, it's 16 degrees, 13 degrees Neptune, but I just thought it was something I should kind of know. But yeah, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter connections, what I've seen mainly with him. And then Dominic West, who played the magnificent Jimmy McNulty, this man was crazy as they come. Now, talking about mental disposition, he's got Mercury next to Uranus, and I believe Wood Harris has that actually. But yeah, to be fair with you, he was a crazy wild guy as well. I want my corners. Yo, they got some famous lines, you know what I mean? Some very famous lines, but that was one of them amongst many, you know. But I'm just a gangster, I suppose. Was another one. Yeah, which preceded the corners line. And yeah, let me show you Wood Harris. He has Mercury at 6 degrees and Uranus at 5 degrees. So I think that kind of gives you a like extra intelligence. So Avon was quite intelligent in the show. In fact, supremely intelligent really, because he was head of that crew for a long time. And then McNulty was just that guy in terms of the intelligent police officer. So I mean, a sign or a symbol of that kind of is Mercury and Uranus, which kind of shows high intelligence. Mercury being how you think, the intellect, and Uranus being known as a planet of higher intellect, but kind of speeds up the mind and influence and its detachment in terms of yeah, these two guys were very detached. I mean, one's the mob boss and the other one's like a key police officer, and their levels of detachment in being able to kind of put their mind in a different place, I feel like it's represented in these charts definitely. So I mean, it's amazing because there's no way that the writers thought about it in this way, but how it shows up in terms of their character and how they played it and the role, how it's believable, I can see how that like lines up in the astrology. So people, anyway, there's quite a few people that they was in cahoots with who have come quite far. One of the most famous being this guy, Michael B. Jordan, and he is an Aquarius sun, so born 9th of February 1987. And this man has gone on to be, well, Eric Killmonger is one of his most famous roles, but I believe he's been in Creed and some other things as well. So yeah, he was actually Wallace in the show when he was much younger. And yeah, Stringer, Idris Elba, was actually the guy that was having run-ins with Wallace. And then another guy that I mentioned or may have mentioned before, Michael K. Williams, the honourable mention. This guy was playing Omar, and I can kind of see how he got in everybody's business. He's got Venus and the Sun and Neptune, like I mean around late Scorpio and early Sagittarius, which is where the Neptune of the other actors is. So yeah, Michael B. Jordan, Michael K. Williams, two different guys. Matt Wilds, yeah, so you'd see him in the credits as Tristan Wilds. He played another character, Michael Lee. Now this guy's a Cancerian, 15th of June 1989. Now I can see his planets down here, they sit near Idris Elba's South Node, so that's another connection. And then also possibly near Idris Elba's moon, with his South Node being in Leo himself. And then he has Venus, Mars. So, I mean, he was like the younger that ended up being that way inclined in terms of brought into the streets. Whereas Wallace, which is Michael B. Jordan, wasn't really that guy yet at that time in this show. He was kind of a lot more innocent and a lot more compassionate, and you can kind of see that possibly with Venus, Neptune. Definitely come across. He's the one that looked after the kids and all the youngers that didn't have anyone. And then Snoop, can't forget Snoop, aka Felicia Pearson. Now here's another Mars, Jupiter, Sun alignment again. Now, if I hadn't said it before, I'll say it again. The Wire was set in Baltimore and was based around real life activities and things that happened in real life. So I believe the writer was basically a former journalist, and he, alongside former police officers, were who the main contributors to the main parts of the script. And the script was written so well, according to the actors in the show, that there wasn't really much that needed to be changed. They kind of spoke to what was written on the script. But Felicia Pearson, I believe, actually served time for second-degree murder when she was young, and was part of gang life in Baltimore. So they actually had real life people who were making changes with their life and doing their best by basically being on screen and living out the role instead of actually living it out in the street. So it shows you how astrology, in its power and strength, that if you're not pretending to be something, i.e. acting, that you will be living it up in reality somewhere else. So it's just supremely powerful. So I was meant to show you the alignment. You have Mercury square to Mars. Mars is conjunct to Jupiter, and Mercury itself is conjoined to the Sun. So that's just some squares, and squares manifest as aspects in reality that have to be dealt with and have to be faced. And Snoop's opening scenes in the series, I think it was series 3, is she basically walks into the store with an old nail gun, which takes out of the boot of the car, and got it over her shoulder, walks up to the nail gun section in the hardware store, and she's promptly addressed by a store assistant, who proceeds to tell her about the latest, biggest gun that they had, nail gun this is. And she stood there, listened to him, spat back some games to him about how it sounded like a certain type of gun. Guy looked at her like, she's like, yeah. And then basically, just straight out of the gate, whipped out the Skrilla, give it to the guy, told him to pay for it and take it, the tip, which she's basically just giving $800. It was about $669 plus tax. And she just rolled out with nail gun like a big G. So that scene was so memorable, right? That it definitely stuck in people's minds, and she made an impression on people in a big way. So yeah, I have to give an honourable mention to Felicia Snoop Pearson. Right, gonna get out of here, people. Didn't want to make this video too long, but yeah, The Wire was such a show, such a, how can we put it, a staple it become of one of the box sets that people wanted. And yeah, people still want it, to be honest with you. Right, Idris Elba, gotta show you the maximum love and appreciate you for speaking with Kano and whoever else you've been doing interviews with, and try to keep in touch with us, the people, because you know we've been happy to support what you've been doing. Right, people, there'll be the details in the box description for my services. If you want to get at me, just do so. Subscribe, like, share, tell a friend, and you know how we do. Right, peace and love, much respect.